Hi guys, welcome to Model Muppet's introduction to helicopter flying on Battlefield Bad Company 2. This is done on the PS3. From what I gather, it's slightly more difficult than it is on the PC. We set up a private server so there won't be anybody shooting at me for a while. It's not a kind of real game situation, but it's just so we can get a hang of it. So when you're starting, just take off as high as you can. Just try and keep it steady for a little bit. Very small movements. Just practice at keeping it steady. There's me gonna get over enthusiastic. Once you've got it steady a little bit, just tilt your joysticks in different directions and get a little feel for it. If you do this on a private server, then you don't have to worry about people shooting at you. You have to dip the nose down quite a bit if you want to travel forward. Basically, the helicopter controls only really has accelerate and decelerate, and it's whatever position you're facing is going to determine whether you're travelling fast or travelling slow. So you could have acceleration up high, but if you're level, all you'll do is rise up. Now, the game doesn't have a very high ceiling, so you won't actually be travelling very far. If, however, you've got acceleration up high and you dip the nose down, you'll travel forward. Likewise, there's no reverse gear, so to reverse you have to actually tilt the nose back and still accelerate. Just having a little look around the map here. You can see there's some action going on, but I've asked the guys not to shoot back at me until we start shooting at them. This spot where I'm coming up to here is, generally speaking, a safe place to land. If you're going to be a pilot, my advice would be an engineer, so you can always jump out and have a quick repair. Now, this doesn't actually need repairing yet, but it's just to kind of establish the principle. Your gunner could also, of course, be an engineer and jump out, but sometimes when you land, if you're still the pilot, the helicopter will keep moving and it can slow the whole process up a little bit. Try and get to know where the biggest threats are going to be. At the back of this ship here, as we come down, we'll see where the UAV is situated. I'm just going to fire a couple of rockets off there just to get you a clue as to where it is. Coming up next, we've got the anti-air gun. Now, this can be quite devastating to helicopters. Make sure you know where it is, because it will bring you down quick. For some reason, it doesn't highlight when there's a player in there. The only way you know that there's somebody in there is if the bullets start coming at you. So my advice would be, as soon as you see it, just whack a couple of rockets off it to discourage anyone from getting in it. Flying back to your base and having a look up gives you quite a good overview. You can still see the orange diamond in the centre there, and vehicles will show up quite far, especially if people are doing spotting for you. If you're playing as a team, strongly encourage people to spot if you've got a helicopter on your side, because it makes it so much easier to identify targets. Biggest threat in any game, if you're the helicopter pilot, is going to be the other team's helicopter. Obvious, yeah, but it is true. So get used to doing circling attacks. Just keep circling around the target, try and let your gunner do a job. Flying a helicopter with a gunner. First of all, make sure you always have a gunner. A helicopter without a gunner really is about 1/10 of its potential, even if you're a good pilot. But you really do need to have a gunner. Keeping it steady will obviously make life a lot easier for your gunner, and a common criticism that gunners make of me is that I'm flying too fast for them. However, keeping it steady also makes you a sitting target. Now, this is something I rarely do in game, but it's kind of fun to do sometimes if you've got the upper hand that's getting near the game, so you can actually capture flags in your helicopter, and it's a bit of a show-off thing to do. A little bit cool, a little bit fun. And of course, you get your bonus points for it. There we go. I'd like to mention a big thanks to the guys who gave me a hand doing this. Like I say, we had to set up a private server to do it, and setting up a private server at the minute on the PS3 isn't exactly easy. We had to try 3 or 4 hosts before we were able to actually get a game going. So a big thanks to the guys who had a bit of patience to help me get this set up. Try and get used to flying low a bit. It's got a couple of advantages. It makes you less visible from all over the battlefield. It makes you less of a target for RPGs and stuff like that. It makes it much harder for people to get a lock onto you. And often people think that you're an inexperienced pilot and you're going down and you're going to crash, and they kind of forget about you and leave you alone. Chances are if you're watching this and you're going to get some use out of it, you're going to get used to dying. Helicopters aren't invincible, and it's a pretty good job, because it wouldn't be much of a game if one thing could just take out everything. So you're going to get used to the walk of shame. Anyway, coming along to this bit now, in a real game often you'll find it's half a dozen guys all waiting around for the helicopter, and a lot of them will be quite happy to spend the entire game sitting waiting for the helicopter. If that happens, it's obviously pretty much game over for your side. I have to admit though, I have been guilty of doing that myself. A couple of times maybe. So, as I said before, we set this up as a private game, so none of us are really too bothered about racking up kills or anything. Generally the way it breaks down though is, if you're the pilot, you should not be finishing top of the scoreboard. Really, your gunner should. Your main role is to provide a stable shooting platform for your gunner. When you go after a target, you, generally speaking, are going to have to dip the nose down, which is going to move you forward. That gives you a chance to shoot, and chances are you'll miss and fly by. If you pull back a little, your gunner will get a much better shot at it. We weren't too bothered about that in this game. If I get a chance, I'll post up some other videos where we do show us racking up a few kills. There's the enemy base coming up. I do not condone that whole spawn camping thing where one helicopter goes straight over to the other side and just continually bombards the other base. Yeah, it can win the game, but it is a game. The game's meant to be enjoyable and fun. Personally, I don't find that much fun, and most of the teams won't. The guys you're doing it to won't be enjoying it, and the guys on your side are going to get a pretty boring game. And if it does go well, it means that all of your team will end up rushing over to the other side. Again, that's not much of a game in my book. If that's what you enjoy, yeah, fair play to you, but it's not my style, not my cup of tea. So here we are back at the walk of shame. Be aware if you're in a proper game, you spawn over here, the chances are you're going to run into quite a few of the enemy who have made their way around to your spawn point. They're going to try and steal your chopper or blow it off when it takes off, something like that. It happens quite a lot. That's Midzi the bush kangaroo. Dip the nose quite far down if you are going to try and get into the battle quite quickly. You'll probably crash a few times at first, but yeah, you'll get used to it. That pretty much wraps it up for now. I hope some of this has been useful to some new guys. If I get a chance, I'll see if I can do one with a bit more advanced stuff in it. Thanks for taking the time to watch.